5 minutos no. Bueno, chat, suscríbanse. Vamos con el juego. Vamos con el juego de hoy. ¿Por qué lo vas a jugar, cara? No lo sé. Siempre he querido jugarlo, pero nunca lo había jugado. Así que vamos a solucionar eso hoy. ¿Y por qué decidiste jugar ese juego perdido de la mano de Dios? Por lo que acabo de decir. ¡Que me muero, chat! Le vamos a esta de Games. Todo debería funcionar. ¿Qué lo jugamos? Chat. Inglés, alemán, portugués, Spraklaklax, Pikinik, Anion, Haseyon, francés, español, italiano, polaco, chino o nihongo. Confirmar. Voy a jugarlo en no, español. Elijo un idioma para los subtítulos. Vale, espérense. El volumen, chat. Necesitamos más volumen. Recuerden que pueden lanzar sus interacciones sociales para hacer de los juegos algo más educativo. Español, confirmar. ¿Jugaste a The Stanley Parable alguna vez? Era The Stanley Parable. No sé quién lo adivinó, pero felicidades. No lo he jugado nunca. Ajusta la barra deslizante hasta que la computadora sea apenas visible. Así está bien. Introduce la hora actual. Son las 23. Ay, Dios, no tiene 23. AM after midnight. PM post midnight. O sea, nunca he sabido esta mierda. Lo peor de estudiar las horas en japonés era esta guarrada. Son las 11:11 de la PM, ¿no? De la tarde. Es así. Vale. Son las 11:11, chat. Nota, puedes acceder a la configuración de accesibilidad. Vale. Estás jugando a The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Ultra Deluxe. Configuración. Vídeo. Sonido. Ok, atrás. Con el DLC, sí, va con todo. Venga, iniciar partida. The end is never the end, is never the end. Haz clic para
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Me imagino al de
Stanley
Office.
worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor at his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Un trabajo.
Others might have considered it soul-rending. Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
¿Son felices, chat?
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
Pues que se lleve un libro
No
para...
one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Vale, soy Stanley. Son las 11:20 de la noche. No debería estar en la oficina. A ver qué puedo hacer. Puedo agacharme. Puedo saltar, ¿no? No, en serio, desactivamos la opción. Se otorga cuando recibes cualquiera de los logros. Pero si no he hecho nada. Estoy toqueteando teclado, pero no hay teclado. No entiendo. Dale a la A. Dale, salta, no puedo saltar. Puedo moverme así. Y te puedo agachar. Pero ya está. ¿Por qué puedo teclear si mis manos son un... Bueno, me voy de aquí. No me puedo ver en el reflejo. Puedo abrir puertas. Vale, es sonido de... No tengo manos, pero hay que entender que...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
A lo mejor me he perdido el memo. Tengo que ir a la sala de reuniones. No puedo coger objetos. I hate Mondays.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
¿Dónde están mis coworkers? Oh no, son los... Son los espacios liminales. Es un backroom de esos.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
¿Y si me paso media hora tocando cosas? Surname access. Tío, cómo me jode no poder saltar. ¿Tiene screamers? Tipo en plan... Como alguien lanzando un Diego. ¿Puedo cerrar? Vale, al fin, una interacción, tío. Vale, puedo abrir y cerrar esa. Está cerrado.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Pero... Es bien sabido que la izquierda nunca funciona, narrador. Yo creo que habría que ir por la derecha. La gente le tiene miedo, pero... ¿Por qué puedo teclear, tío? Me pone nervioso poder teclear. Voy a ir por la derecha.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Quiero admirar la sala de... Todas estas salas son iguales, tío. Haz lo que te dicen. Oblígame, crepitas. Puta madre.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Me voy a quedar aquí bebiendo una cold drink. Una loco cola. Dame una loco cola.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Mira, son pinturas de hojas, del mar, una cafetera.
At this point, Stanley's but at last he'd had
Hey,
enough
hey,
of
hey,
the
hey.
amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Pero por aquí no vuelvo al negocio. Estoy yendo al contrario. Aunque por ahí seguro que podría llegar. ¿Qué hay aquí? Me voy a hacer arquitecto.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Voy a hacer lo que se me cante el... Ah, necesito una tarjeta. Es mi primerito día. Tío, no puedo saltar. Do not jump from the cargo lift while it's in motion. Puede causar la muerte. La muerte. Vámonos.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Obvio, soy el
There's
protagonista.
someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
¿Qué persona?
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Ah, de
I'm
ti.
not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
¿Quién es ella? No te acerques a
This
mi
is it,
familia.
Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ha secuestrado a mi mujer. Tengo mujer. O sea, si yo ahora vuelvo, el narrador me lo agradecerá. Tipo en plan, me voy. ¡Eh! Puta madre, me prometieron que en este juego podría hacer lo que quisiera. Uy, esto está re oscuro, ¿eh? ¡Oh!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
Ajá.
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside.
¡Vampidan! ¡35 mesazos!
35 meses. Qué rápido pasa el tiempo.
Gracias por ese Prime, Vampi. Chicos, suscríbanse. No lo hagan por mí, háganlo por Stanley y su mujer, que era un maniquí. Se está riendo de vos, Kala, no
Let
importa.
me show you what's really going on here.
Porque lo que el narrador no sabe es que Stanley es 100% homosexual. Así que no quiero tener una mujer. Que te jodan.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Qué violento se pone, ¿no? Para lo poco que llevamos. Pensé que iba... ¿Y si me agacho? ¿Me dirá algo si me pongo a hacer esto en el pasillo? ¡Eh! ¡Hostia! ¡Puta madre! Dos sustos más.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
¿Qué? ¿Me ha matado? Buen día, empleado. Buen día, empleado 427. Oprime G en tu teclado. Voy a oprimir F. No, J. F. T. H. I. R. E. ¡Osvaldo! Mi respeto a su decisión de casarse
Esta
con un
sub es
maniquí.
por Stanley y mi respeto a su decisión de casarse con un maniquí.
No lo ven, no me da problemas. Me respeta, nunca discutimos. Puedo ir de viaje a donde yo quiera. Nunca me siento solo. Japón la está poniendo cada vez más mejoras. Pero al principio se reían de mí. Pero yo me río de ellos cuando se divorcian. ¡Que me quiero ir de aquí! Le tengo que dar a la G. ¿Y qué pasa si le doy a la G?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Mi macho castigador, 18 mesazos.
Como a Dios darle dinero a los ricos, excepto tú, Kala. Tú me caes bien.
Y yo no soy rico. Ojalá fuera rico. Si no, no estaría haciendo caso al perro este. A ver, X.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
Obvio, porque...
Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
No voy a oprimir R. Voy a oprimir todas las teclas del teclado menos la R. No ocurre nada, voy a esperar. No pienso oprimir a mi maniquí. Somos una relación sana. ¿Verdad que sí, cariño? Chicos, 1000 piedritas y le pongo tu nombre a mi esposa. Re barato, chat. Una ganga. No voy a oprimir. No voy a oprimir nada. Dar un puñetazo a la pantalla. Seguro que no se lo espera. Venga, voy a oprimirla. No la oprimo. La primo, no la voy a oprimir.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown. Fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Oprime N para mirar la televisión. Pero si no hay televisión. Tu esposa es re barata. Cómpratela, Dragon, cómpratela, 1000 piedritas. No hay televisión, ¿dónde quieres que...?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth.
El narrador está a 1000 piedritas también.
Excited him terribly.
No, el narrador a 1500. Oprime V para pasar tiempo con los chicos. ¿Pero qué chicos? O sea, el juego está tirando para adelante mientras me... Esto es normal. Voy a teclear tanto que se te va a caer la cara. V. Voy a pasar tiempo con los chicos.
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Oprime H para preparar la cena. Yo me voy a oprimir a mí mismo para preparar mi propia cena. Coño.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
El botón de apagar el PC te apuesto a que el juego no se lo espera.
Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Mi casa se está transformando en mi oficina. Oprime C para contarles una historia a tus hijos. ¿Mis hijos?
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Uy, no está la barra de Kala aquí, tío. Tremendo fail. No, necesitamos el medias horas, tío. ¿Cómo no puede estar el medias horas aquí, hombre? ¡El medias horas! Ahí está, chat, cárguense a Kala. O R para decirle a tu esposa que la amas. Oprime a tu esposa para decirle que le amas. No entenderían mi manera de amar.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
¡Devuélveme a mi mujer! Oprime H para irte a dormir. Me gusta la voz del narrador sin nombre. 1500 piedritas el narrador, chat. Está barato.
And I'm trying to tell him this. That in this world he can never be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me.
Que sí, que ya te voy a hacer caso. Déjame salir, tío.
Watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
H para irse a dormir, este narrador le sabe. Oprime B para estar en el trabajo por la mañana. ¡Que te jodan!
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled
No la ves,
to.
Stanley.
I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
He muerto. ¿Es una nueva partida? O... Y así se termina el juego. Pero esta vez no me está...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
He perdido al memo. Toca purgar todo de nuevo, chat.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¡La izquierda no funciona!
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Voy a admirar la sala de empleados.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
This room.
This room is
What
amazing.
a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Vea, te voy a hacer caso.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Pero también podría subirme a este ascensor. Pero no lo voy a hacer. Porque así es Stanley. Un tipo que hace lo que le da la puta gana cuando le da la puta gana. Lo que menos se espera a la gente. En plan, ¡pam! Y se estampa contra una pared. Hey, ¿qué pasó?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief,
Ese Stanley es un
Stanley
loquillo.
decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
A ver. Meeting room. Meeting schedule. Week target, marketing, mondays, office experience. 8 pájaros. 8 pájaros, Office party. Do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. Rip Franz. Franz. Ha muerto un tal Franz. O Franz. Complete today un not cost efficient. Number of lights on this slide. Charges and lights slide. Eso no tiene ningún puto sentido. Was. Target Demographic Teenagers. ¿Qué le gusta a los adolescentes? Lo que está caliente. Profit, 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 profit. Chat. Strippers. Strippers. ¿Qué le gusta a los adolescentes? Las strippers. Requieren more secondary research. Está claro. The stock market somewhere here. ¿Qué quiere la gente? Cosas. Happiness and felicitings. Dinero, más dinero. Piedritas. Cosas para comprar con piedritas. Perfecto. Vámonos. ¿Cómo se llama? Broom closet. Un armario para escobas.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Voy a llevar una escoba. Píllate una escoba, Stanley. Demuéstrales que puede. Píllate la llave inglesa.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
Cállate ya, hombre, cállate ya, que ya ha
I never would
salido.
have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Oh, Dios. Me pillaron.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now.
No, no he muerto.
You're dead.
No.
You got
Me
to
muevo.
this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort
Oh.
shut down your
Oh,
central
no.
nervous
Me
system
va a dar un
and you
ictus.
collapsed on the keyboard.
Me va a dar un
Well,
ictus.
in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
A no ser.
Anyone who happens to be nearby,
Hola.
the person at this computer is dead.
No, estoy
They've
bien.
fallen prey to any number of your countless
Estoy
human
bien.
physiological vulnerabilities.
Estoy
It's
de puta
indicative
madre.
of the long terms coming to a staircase.
No, 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 no.
Stanley
No,
walked upstairs
fuck,
to his
cabrón.
boss's office.
Quería quedarme en mi escobero. ¡Ah! ¡Ah! Me jodiste el... ¿Ha dicho arriba o abajo? Fuck, me voy para arriba. Ejecutivo de Brad. El baño de los ejecutivos. I got the feeling. Morning for stealing, but not yours, of course. So that's okay. Extreme bathrooms. Baños extremos. No me habla, no me dice nada. Lo habré roto. ¿Hola? Hostia, están apuntando a la cabeza de ese panda. ¿Hola?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Two, 8, 4, 5. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Se ha abierto, chat. Y el techo ha crecido una fucking barbaridad. Me puedo ir de aquí. Quería ver al panda con la pistola, tío. Vale, esta parte está sin construir. Tengo linterna. Wow, pero... Bueno, seguro que no me mato. Ah, vale, que hay suelo. Voy a ir para arriba. Le dije para arriba. ¿Qué ha pasado?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Me siento peculiar,
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest,
Tengo un
as though he
remolino de...
felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ha petado. Me he ido para arriba. ¡No, no, 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 no! ¡No!
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office?
¿Seguro?
Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Seguro que ha ocurrido algo. Quiero ver al panda de la pistola. Hola, he vuelto. Ese escobero y yo tenemos
Here we
una...
are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator.
Ábreme la
It's
puerta.
still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
¿No era 2485? ¿2845? ¿2854? ¡Gonza! Bueno, vamos a seguir con el juego, chat.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all this?
Los genios hacen eso. Le tienen que sacar del estadio a Stanley.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he?
Venga, le voy a hacer. A no ser...
Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me.
The irony. Seguro que ha ocurrido algo. El menos esquizofrénico.
Oh my god. It's the boss's office. This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
Abre...
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No! No, wait! No! I need more time to process.
¿Otra vez? Tu, 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 tu.
All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
Así, a mis pies. Yo me encargo, narrador sin nombre. Vamos a
Of
bajar.
course. Going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling that has grown stale and repetitive.
No, no, tío. Estoy cansado de subir y bajar, chat.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Mind Control Facility. No hay huevos. Regrésate otra vez. Ahora de seguro pasa algo. ¿Tú crees? ¿Y si te pones a trabajar? ¿Y si te pones a trabajar, Stanley? El narrador. ¿Y si te pones a trabajar? ¿Tú crees? ¿Y si te pones a trabajar? Es que me da mal rollo volver a subir. Se va a enfadar conmigo, tío. Venga, voy a volver a subir. La última, ¿eh? Se ha roto, chat.
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow? There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know, Stanley, it seems like nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started.
Me gusta el relax.
But where's the tension?
Ponme una
Where's the
cancioncilla
trust
ahí.
in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate, and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years. And it's really all because of you.
De nada.
You're the one who took
De
this
nada, chat.
bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to
Me gustan
think.
los juegos.
I want to be engaged and not pandered to.
No estoy
We're
siendo-
being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital.
Estás
and
acelerando el
alive.
ascensor, frénale.
That's why people like you so much, Stanley. Because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model, you know? People look up to you.
Vamos
Which
muy
is why-
rápido.
Oh, I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you.
Oh?
So that you can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous
Stanley el
impact
influencer.
on them for the better. Oh, good, we're here. Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
¡Qué perro! Quería volver a bajar. ¿Por qué me cierras? Como la sorpresa que me llevé de Yaku, eso no lo vi venir. Tremendo giro de Yaku, chat. ¡Qué perro! Claro. Si me cierras puertas no me dejas tomar mis propias decisiones. Todos los ojos en Stanley. Ese soy yo. ¡Salgo en la portada! ¿Cómo fueron hechas las pirámides? El hombre que fue a Marte. Storyteller, este soy yo, Stanley, el hombre del año. World Peace Baby. Y un huevo. Le voy a dar paz a los bebés.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door.
¡Qué perro, narrador! ¡Deja de cerrarme las puertas! Esto no tiene pinta de...
All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry, you'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for you.
Espérate,
Go get 'em.
¿Primero me maquillo o qué? ¿Me maquillo o qué? 4, 2, 7. Sienten... Congratulations, Stanley. Remember where you come from. Story. Stanley y yo, papá, 6 años. Gracias por enseñarme a skateboard. Rómpete una pierna. No one tells the story the way you do. Cara en su charla en Murcia. ¿Vamos a rompernos una pierna o qué, chat? Ha llegado la hora de... ¡Wow! Me quedé putamente sordo. ¿Qué? 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 ¿Por qué me he muerto? El pitido del canal volvió, chat. Volvió a matar al 50% de la población.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to
What
the
could it
meeting
mean?
room.
¿Quién lo
Perhaps he
diría?
had simply missed a memo.
Así terminaba. Pero molaría que le...
When Stanley came
La
to a set
izquierda
of
no
two open
funciona.
doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
La izquierda.
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Voy re loco.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's
perdí.
incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Me perdí. Me perdí. ¡Fuck!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
¡Joder!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tengo una idea. ¿Puedo correr? No. La izquierda no
Stanley
funciona.
came to a set of 2 open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
¡Ah!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Pero es lo mismo. O sea, realmente es un final final. No es como un final, pero que lo tiene en cuenta.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Se ha cansado. La izquierda no funciona.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Estoy perdido.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ok, tengo un plan.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Oh!
Really?
Parkour!
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Soy infeliz por naturaleza, narrador. Da igual lo que me des. Lo torceré en una maldición. Soy Stanley y quiero morir solo y arrepentido de todas las acciones que he tomado en mi vida. ¿Dónde estamos? Chat, saben que si se suscriben en este mismo momento...
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Rojo, es que siempre es igual. Rojo. Es que la izquierda no. Azul. Haber puesto las puertas al contrario, tío. Haber puesto las puertas al contrario. Es que de verdad. Yo no te quería desobedecer, pero... me voy al azul.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Bueno, ya no está a la izquierda, ¿eh? Pero... ¿y si voy hacia atrás?
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
¿Qué hay? ¿Qué hay? Dime.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback.
Vale.
There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
¿Ves? Pues esta sí me gusta. Voy a verla.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
5 chulo puntos. Eres un héroe.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something.
Obvio.
Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul.
Your soul.
You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Ey, pero... Me están cortando el camino, tío. De Stanley para Worldwide Lead Board. Skid, Nicho, Nacho, Boya, Hoflin, Awesome. ¿Dónde estoy yo? 21,3% de los jugadores. Ese soy yo. El puesto 9328. ¿Cuánto tiempo te durará tomar la puerta correcta? Why not ask some friends? ¿Por qué no preguntas a algunos amigos por ayuda? Chat. Pero ahora no me he enterado de lo que quería que hiciera. Pero voy a volver a la ultraderecha. Hola.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Un 5.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting.
Vale,
You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
Vamos.
Perfect. Let me boot it up.
A ver. Ey.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard.
¡Arde!
Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
Es porque odio los
Because if
bebés.
it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas.
No, a ti te
I
quiero.
can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm
No,
done.
vuelve.
It's over.
Vuelve.
Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable.
Vuelve.
Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Vuelve.
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
¿Habrá matado? ¿No? ¡Eh!
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play
Este
as
no
a
es el
creepy
juego del
man
leñador
spying
ese.
on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Pero no hay nada que pueda hacer aquí. Tipo dormir. Hostia, ¿qué ha sido eso? Venga, le voy a hacer caso, ya salgo. Mira cómo corre el viento. ¡Propano! Y solo puedo seguir tecleando. ¿Será que estoy dormido? ¿Será que esto es un sueño? Y por eso tecleo, porque estoy dormido en el teclado. Qué guapa esta estructura.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Ozole.
It is. It's an open world game.
I
Good
know.
God, quickly block it off.
Odio los...
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
Menos mal,
Really
porque...
wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided
No
it.
te preocupes, soy igual que
Out
tú.
of the woods now, Stanley.
Estamos fuera de peligro.
Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
No, pero déjame
Preferably
disfrutar de...
something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
¡Eren!
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Este no es el juego ese de los
Wonderful.
coches con
See,
pelotas.
This is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Quedaré de lo más impresionante. No, hombre.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here?
¿No se saca una pelota o qué?
There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what
Sport ball.
fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must.
Pero sácate las pelotas.
Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Me podré meter por el agujero de la portería. ¡Wow!
What are you doing?
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You
Ay,
can't
no, me he
do it.
alejado
You
de
know
él,
that.
tío.
Stanley, come back.
El Blue Lock. Tenía que haber jugado un poco con él. No pensé que iba a ser tan inteligente. Ahora me he quedado solo. Y está muy oscuro. Y no tengo linterna. ¡Oh! ¡Oh! No me mola la apariencia de este pasillo. ¡Pongan piso, pendejos! No mames. Puto si me vuelvo a caer. Hola. 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 Hello. Son las puertas. Son las antiguas puertas. Ya no me voy a caer. Y del mar... ¡Ay, va a la verga, güey! Una sala de comandos, tierra. No puedo cerrar.
Joder, Kala, ponle voluntad.
Joder. Y encima con 500 piedritas. ¿Quién fue? Y fue Kazuma. Anybody wants coffee? ¿Alguien quiere café, chat? Puta madre, qué susto. Ponele voluntad, carajo. Le estoy poniendo voluntad, chat.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back.
I'll be back.
The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
¿Como me mate? Me ha matado, tío, otra vez. He vuelto a reiniciar el mundo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¡Mamma mía! Esa puerta está abierta. Mira cómo se ahí flasea el juego. Y gratis, chat.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ok. Voy a intentarlo con la izquierda. ¿Por qué estoy aquí?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
¿Quieres que siga exactamente los mismos pasos que ya pasé?
Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
It goes down. It goes down. Chicken motherfucking nuggets. Chicken motherfucking nuggets. ¿Qué tal el día, chat? ¿Saben que si se cargan la barrita de Kala hacen un por uno? ¿No se sienten como con ganas de entrar en una Red Week? Just chatting, chat. Ponte un temazo. No, que entonces me movería. No me tengo que mover. Tengo que estar de pana aquí en el armario. Buen momento para hablar de la sexualidad de... ¿Qué se cuentan, chat? Han comprado Space Drum, tomo 4. Vieron el vídeo de lolweapon. Vieron mi reel de 2 minutos y medio. Pero no, es que como eran 2 minutos y medio, lo vamos a compartir de puta pena, ¿verdad, Instagram? De puta pena. No tenía luz. ¿Vas a salir del armario, Kala? Por cierto, las ropas de fiesta del final del tomo están bien perronas, muy bien hecho. Le quisimos dar ahí un toque bien fashion, Husky. Sube shorts de YouTube. con animatrónicos. Me leí el 2 de Space Jam, pero pronto tendré los que siguen. Bien ahí, Kunue. En Instagram solo salen culos y si así me sales tú, Kala, eso debe ser. Entonces va a haber más martes de manga el próximo martes. Este perro... YouTube no comparte tus vídeos. Ya, Roy Russo. Como a toda la gente. ¿No me va a escribir? ¿En serio? Pues me voy. ¿Qué te lo crees tú? Bokuyaba, Darkslayer. Hay que ver los vídeos seguidos y recién comparte. Chicos, véanse los vídeos, activen la campanita. Quiero volver a ver los vídeos de Kalathras Fantasy 8. Todos queremos, Kirby. Bueno, este capullo se ha enfadado de verdad.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Anda, el parking.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours.
Me dio
He
miedo.
might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe,
Podría.
he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Maybe I'm crazy.
All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense.
No tiene sentido.
And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Se están repitiendo.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And
Es
at
la misma
last,
habitación.
he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming!
I'm dreaming. Siroyasa, media banana. Lancen sus media banana, chat. Gracias, Siroyasa,
This
por
is
ese
all
nivel
a
2.
dream. Oh, what a relief
Siroyasa.
Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job.
Solo estoy
He
dormido.
wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
¿Dónde está el espacio? Porque ya no
Now
vuelo.
the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Uy, Space
And
Drum.
while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Pero ¿y las drogas?
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
No quiero.
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job.
Abre los ojos.
Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Abre los
Please.
ojos.
It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
Abre los ojos.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Todo está bien, chat.
I am okay.
I am okay.
Stanley began screaming.
Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Mariela.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself.
Oh, Dios,
and
es
then
Stanley.
collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life.
Hostia, le gusta hablar,
She had no time for this. So it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
Muévete, Stanley.
And then she turned and ran.
Ese era mi final. Ese era mi final. Narrador, sin nombre.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started.
Hey, eso
and
es
if
nuevo.
it did, it stopped shortly after.
Ah, vale.
Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
¡Ha entrado en bucle! Awaiting input. Yo me sé el input. ¿No había un número? Input received. Vi una persona en la ventana. ¿Tú crees? Yo no veo a nadie.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Cara, veo gente muerta. Yo, Stanley. Venga, voy a ir a la izquierda.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
¡No! ¡Mendoza! Me han cerrado el armario de las escobas.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Se me lanzan en el auto. Se me aferran al... Voy a ver al panda con pistolas. Mírale. Business Strategy. Chicos, este es el motivo por el que no soy millonario todavía. Necesito pegarle tiros en la cabeza a más osos panda. La bolsa está subiendo como loca desde que... No sé continuar la broma. Me piro en este ascensor. Ese chat. Ese chat. Hostia, ¿no estoy subiendo demasiado? Ah, pinche. Que es una cámara de ruido. Baja. Seguro de que Archie se siente satisfecho. Tengo muchas ganas de que veáis a todos los personajes en acción, Husky Dusky. Bueno, este juego está roto. Ghost Runner, no sé de qué va. Este juego no funciona. Esta democracia no sirve.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation.
¿Cómo?
But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be?
Dime el código.
In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number.
Quiero el código.
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Amazing. Bueno, se viene. Se viene, chat.
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office?
Se está repitiendo.
That's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
No me gusta que te repitas. Quiero que te vuelvas más loco. Te pago. No me deja bajar.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is.
Déjame irme.
What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising
Pero se ha reseteado del todo. Se ha reseteado del todo el juego.
To the edge of my seat.
No, no se ha reseteado porque me ha censurado el cuarto de las escobas.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Ladies and gentlemen. No lo entiendo.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor.
Voy a
Stanley
ir
walked
por el
straight
spooky
ahead through the
corridor.
large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Me están viendo, chat. Me observan. ¿Quieren que puse?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Se ha abierto un pasillito. Voy a pulsar las cámaras.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers.
Oh.
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Bueno, a ver, solo se están asegurando de que trabajen. Mira qué guapo efecto. ¿Quién es ese? Han despedido a alguien ahí. Ah, no, 2 despedidos.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true.
Aquel está
Had
roto.
Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Ok, vámonos.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control?
Never.
Never. It
Never.
was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
He dejado de subir.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
¿Qué quieres que apoye a los...? ¿Y si bajo ahí abajo? No se baja por aquí, chat, joder. Console y disable. Mira qué lugar tan... Dios. Chat, todas las piedritas y suscripciones del día de hoy irán destinados a poner un suelo así redondo con LEDs rojos que giran. Su finalidad es la de, no sé, puede servir de piscina. Espera, ¿de dónde vengo yo? ¿Yo vengo de aquí, de Facility Power o...? Mira, un 5. Mind control y de la waiting input. ¡Turururu! 5, 2, 1. Aquí arriba seguro que hay otro. Pero ¿cómo subo ahí arriba? Está cerrado y no veo nada, chat. No se puede subir. A la pelota. Vale, yo creo que vengo de aquí. Pero es que hay un botón ahí arriba.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Off o on. ¿Podría encenderlo cuando ya está encendido?
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
¿Qué?
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that
Eso
what
es.
you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave.
Never!
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification,
¿Qué pasa?
nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind.
no puedo
What a
correr.
shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not?
No, hombre, no, perro.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you say that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten?
No sirve de nada.
Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left.
He puesto 5, 2, 1.
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice.
He puesto 5, 2, 1.
Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say,
¡Ah! Pero no hay un 0 en ningún lado, chat. He petado por los putos aires.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
La verdad, estoy... La verdad, me estoy estresando un poquito, Stanley. No te voy a mentir. Querría que pusiera mi número. ¿Quién soy yo? ¿Yo qué número soy? Soy el número 427, pero no hay ningún 7 ahí abajo. Contenido nuevo.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Me gusta el viejo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section,
Y
walked
madre,
straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
No, 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 la izquierda no sirve. Coño, ¿serás cabrón? Vale, iré a la izquierda.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Subnormal. Vale.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking?
Siempre es the right.
Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Sí, nada, tómatelo con calma. No tengo prisa. Estamos aquí.
Now, let's see, we went down right, left, down.
Vamos a tomar
left,
una
right.
polentita.
Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Vale. Y aquí... Ah, estamos en la parte de arriba.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all
Me
a
he
spoiler.
spoileado. Me he
Quick, Stanley,
spoileado.
close your eyes.
Ok.
Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now.
¿Qué vamos
The
a
whole
hacer?
story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning.
Pero eso
And this
sería...
time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
No.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
What could
Stanley
it
decided to go to the
mean?
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Y mi contenido extra.
When Stanley... Wait,
Oh.
what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change?
Something changed.
Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors?
Puede.
Did you move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Ajá. Ajá. Mire por esta. Ajá. Menudo estafas eres. ¿Qué hora es?
I'll say, this is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before.
Me asustaste.
Do we need to restart the game again?
No reinicies.
Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by
Por
starting
eso.
over and over again.
Déjame jugar.
But it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot.
No.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Voy a partirle la cara a ese tal... Veo cosas, chat. Empiezo a ver cosas. Veo interacciones sociales. ¿No las ven?
Okay, yep, it's worse.
There is no
I might
door.
be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Ok. Te soporteo. Te follow you. I'm going to follow you and watch you.
Aha! I knew we'd missed something.
Este
The
pasillo.
story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind.
Oh,
Not the
fuck.
story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
¡Socorro! ¿Puede alguien llamar a emergencia?
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all.
¿Dónde he
Is
llegado?
this the story?
No lo
I
sé.
don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct?
¿Esto qué es? Unas caballerizas.
Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Hey!
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no.
It's a
No, I
chat.
don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Bueno, venga, dale. Ya estoy acostumbrado.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Es bastante simple.
No, I'm down. We're living up to the line from now on.
Ah, perro, no vas a meterme más líneas de código. ¡Quiero líneas de código! ¡Dame código! ¡Programa! Quiero que programes todo lo que pase por mi puta cabeza. Vale, seguiré la línea.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
To the destiny.
Here's a thought.
¿Qué pasó?
Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this
Sí.
office, is this office, in fact, the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct?
Obvio.
Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the
Un
mood.
poquito de banda sonora. mejor así, Stanley.
Cut the music.
No,
Go
no, no,
back
no, no.
and look at that fern.
El helecho.
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
Vale.
Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You
Chicos,
won't
vendo
want
el
to lose
helecho por
anything.
500 piedritas. Observen el helecho. Cómprenselo, ahora vuelvo. Escuchad. El helecho MVP. ¿Dijo algo, chat? No, fuck.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
La historia está la línea está redrogada, amigo. Hemos vuelto aquí.
No, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it.
Pétalo todo.
Restart.
Pétalo todo. Ponme la música.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us?
Que le
We're
follen a la
intelligent
línea.
people, right?
Eso es.
Why can't we make up our own story?
Estoy contigo.
Something exciting, daring, mysterious.
Vamos.
Oh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
¿Qué dirección? ¿Qué me has abierto? Vale.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Quiero...
Oh, no, not you again.
Es la línea, se ha colado.
Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Ponme la cancioncita. Ponme la cancioncita. Se escapa.
Ah, a choice.
A choice.
We get to make a decision.
Okay,
From
izquierda
here, the story is in our control.
o derecha.
How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here.
Piensa,
Just
dale.
walk in circles for a minute.
Vale.
Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going?
Siempre.
And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic.
Come, Stanley. Our destiny awaits.
Obvio, la derecha siempre. El final de la confusión. Has jugado al final de la confusión durante 17,35 minutos. ¿Qué son esto? ¿Todos los finales? Primer reinicio, segundo reinicio, tercer reinicio, cuarto reinicio, quinto reinicio.
That's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget?
Stanley muere.
My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide?
No había
Why
elección,
don't
chat.
I get a say in all of this?
No había
Is it really-
elección.
No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I
No lo
won't
reinicies.
do it. I
No
won't
lo hagas.
do it. I won't do it.
Nos quedamos aquí toda la noche.
And the timer stopped?
Oh, Dios.
Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule?
Yo creo que la
Would
línea
we
nos va a
even
partir la cara.
know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Yo creo que la línea va a entrar por esas puertas a hostias.
So, okay.
Yo me alejo un poco.
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't
La
you
línea
agree?
nos va a atacar.
I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey.
La
They're
línea-
always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
¡Eh! Nos han reiniciado a la fuerza.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Solo quiero ser feliz. Hay contenido nuevo ahí, ¿eh? Podría ir o podría... ir.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Todo guapo el... Ah, espérate. Me piro. Me piro, chat. Oh, Dios, es como Disneylandia, Tokio.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success,
Es literalmente lo mismo.
it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable
Se viene.
Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
¿Y si le damos otra vuelta al carrito? Quiero subirme en el carrito otra vez. Coño.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Mesmerizing adventure. Oh.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it, chat.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Seguro que me han estafado. Me han estafado. The jump circle.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Voy a aprender a saltar. Sí, joder. Al fin puedo saltar. Ah, que eran mi número de saltos. Pensé que tenía que agotarlo para abrir una puerta o algo.
¡Dame dinero!
Hola Kala, espero que esta alerta no te asuste. Espero que tú estés bien porque la verdad es que yo ando re estresado.
Pobre Snow. Desestrésense, chat. Láncense unas interacciones.
Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Y ni siquiera puedo saltar ya, joder.
Goodness. Another elevator.
Era Julio.
Stanley, I
Gracias,
have to
Julio.
say, initial impressions of this game are not positive.
No te estreses.
It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
J de
If this
Julio.
is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content.
Mil horas.
Oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Vale, es otra oficina. No puedo saltar. Gracias por enjoying the new content.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You
Me
see,
estafaron.
Stanley?
Me
This
estafaron.
is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to
Infuriated.
find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable.
Atácale por Twitter.
It's my fault, Stanley.
No te
I built up
preocupes.
too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game?
Sí, dale.
And we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time
Pero
together
el salto
like
estuvo
always.
guapo.
What do you say, friend?
Dale, dale. Total, no puedo. Sí. ¿Me dejas su DLC? ¡Toma DLC! ¡Ey, ey, ey! Esta no es mi taza de Batman. ¡Ay, es la antigua oficina! Hemos cambiado de oficina, chat. El presupuesto nos ha dado para... ¿What?
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Vale.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to
Sí.
be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret.
Qué buen
Take a
portal, ¿no?
look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Como vuelva a escuchar Stanley Parable una vez más. The Memory Zone.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Este no es tuyo. Los buenos tiempos, chat. La foto de los locos, mírale. Viral está por ahí. Smile because it happens. El disco de Stanley Parable. El primer dólar. La demo. El primer logro. El segundo logro. Qué bonito. Nominaciones. New video game released today. Cuando Stanley se murió.
Je suis dans la mémorisation, c'est sur la pluie de l'eau, et je n'attends.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning
pero la
triumph
canción,
of games
¿qué?
journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
La verdad es que he perdido un poquito el hilo narrador. Me molaba más cuando nos hacíamos putadas el uno al otro. A tomar por culo. Joder, narrador, pero... Déjame ser feliz.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories. These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before.
Ahora empieza lo bueno.
What's down here? Oh no, oh God no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Hombre, la gente en internet es bastante agradable. No te recomienden.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Steam Reviews. Unfunny. Me muero, chat. Necesito un poquito de... Oh,
Okay,
no.
let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. But dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to.
Quiero
These
dejar...
black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down.
No, pero no pienses...
Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Lo único que yo quiero es hacer putadas. Mira ese sonidito de Manjula. Estamos en Manjula, chat. No, fuck, otro comentario.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only
Algo va a salir de ahí.
positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Vamos. ¿Puedo saltar ya? El botón del skip.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice.
Sí.
That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. Ah. See, now you've got me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look. I have a method for exactly this sort of situation. And I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. 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 Treatise. 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 Manifesto. Treatise.
¿Por qué?
Manifesto.
No le puedo romper así.
Manifesto. Treatise.
Puto
Manifesto.
juego que no me deja joder.
Treatise. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer.
Oh,
that
Dios.
last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes?
¿Tanto?
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really...
12 horas.
Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again.
¿Cuánto tiempo ha pasado?
Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Oh, Dios.
Or 2 weeks.
No lo pulsaré más.
Sitting here all that time.
No lo pulsaré más.
Sitting here, not a single person to speak with.
¡Déjame salir!
I think that... Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been
¿Cuánto ha
through.
pasado?
I've had so much time.
¿Cuánto
I
tiempo?
stopped keeping track after a
¡Un
year.
año! Sí, a ver, si alguien compra un anime, lo vemos. Se ha ido, chat. Pero estoy aquí encerrado. ¿Cuánto más adelante en el tiempo tengo que ir? Murió de viejo. Pip, pip, pip. Oh, Dios.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of...
¿Por qué no me deja salir? Lo único que le pido. ¿Cuánto tiempo tengo que ir para...?
The end is never the end, 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 never the end, is 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 never the end, is
Gracias, Hiroyasa. Oh, Dios. ¡Déjenme salir! ¡Estoy embarazada! Oh. ¡Joder! Este lugar me asusta. ¡Mi ley me asusta! ¡Eh! ¡Una salida! ¿Qué año es? Me llamo Stanley. Me llaman el Parábolas. Anybody wants coffee? ¿Cómo he podido volver cuando había... ¿Cómo has podido resetearme?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¿Cuál es el fin, Stanley? ¿Cuál es el...? New content.
Oh, good. You notice my sign.
Sí,
Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Ay, no, no, esto otra vez no. ¡Ah! Ha entrado en bucle. Ha entrado en bucle.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further.
Vámonos al espacio,
Which is
joder.
why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
¿Qué?
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Pero dame caminitos para, ¿sabes?
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
They are back, 2 doors. Stanley Parable 2. Mira, qué diferentes logos tienen. Mira, oh, es el musgo. Digo, el helecho. ¿Se acuerdan del helecho? Y es el cerebro de Anime Mind. ¿Se acuerdan de Anime Mind?
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it.
A ver.
I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Porque hay un bus aquí. Anybody wants coffee? Oh, Dios.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. De puta madre. Yo quiero tocar ese botón. ¿Dónde está?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
¿Quién soy?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Okay,
I want
Jim.
you to imagine yourself...
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself...
Jim.
All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
My name is Jim.
Jim.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says. But no.
Jim.
Instead,
Jim. I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
Jim.
¡Jim! My name is Jim. Qué cortarrollos eres, narrador sin nombre. Tío. Seguro que ha vuelto a subir. My name is Jim. Estaba guapo el botón de Jim, 10 de 10.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
The babies all grow up. Uy, me está petando el... Me está petando el wifi ahí. El botón que dice el nombre de la persona. Círculo de salto, agujero infinito. A ver. ¿Qué hay aquí? Balde tranquilizante de Stanley Parable. Voy a ver el balde tranquilizante de Stanley Parable.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game.
Pero aquí no hay nada.
It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person.
Oh!
The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Bueno, al menos tengo un cubo.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an... Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Happy 12th birthday siempre.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday is...
12 años. ¿Y los niños de 12 años no tendrán globos? Bah, Stanley, tío, digo, narrador, tío, no me dejas hacer nada.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Vamos, vuelvo. Yo sé que tú quieres. Feliz 12avo cumpleaños.
You've already made your choice.
Feliz 12avo.
It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
Feliz 12 cumpleaños para ti, para tú. Venga, dale. Buah, narrador, tío. Free New Easy Achievement. El círculo de los saltos.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well.
Vamos.
Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle.
Pensé que iba de eso.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
¿No me vas a dar más saltos? Hijo de una hiena. A ver, voy a conseguir ese logro. Es que eso del agujero infinito me llama la atención, ¿eh? A ver, quiero mi
Now,
logro.
here's something special.
¿Dónde está el
You
logro?
remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well,
Sí.
I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm
Dame
not
mi
a
logro.
wizard, Stanley, but I
Dame mi
guarantee it will
logro.
be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Puta madre, me estás estafando en todo. Gamers, ¿saben que...?
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Me voy a suicidar en el agujero. Estoy hasta los huevos de seguir viviendo en un mundo donde no se me permite tomar
Stanley,
elecciones.
here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never
Cuéntamela.
been done before in a video game.
Cuéntamela.
This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's
Entiendo.
right. Infinite falling. You can fall until
Hablas
the
muy
end
lento.
of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
No,
Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
dijiste que es eterno.
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the
¿No es
infinite nature
infinito?
of the hole.
Me voy a
Is it a
chocar.
very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole.
Ah, pues no me he
You
matado.
found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I
me
figured
mola.
the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Ok. Prefiero morir de inanición que seguir haciéndote caso. Qué perro, ¿no va a decir nada? ¿O es que yo no espero lo suficiente? Es porque soy un impaciente. El juego está programado para que me tenga que pasar aquí 30 minutos para que empiece a hablar. Mira qué de colillas. Qué cerdos. Meeting at 2 p.m. No ha pasado ni un minuto, Kala. ¿Cuántas piedritas por quedarte aquí? Un minuto la piedrita. No. Cada 100 piedritas me quedo aquí un minuto. Lo que no sabían es que tengo temazos.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Dios, necesito meterle ánimo a este juego porque me estoy muriendo, ¿eh? Ahora es cuando alguien lanza un viral y nos quedamos eternamente ahí. Tomar por culo.
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much.
I like holes.
A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever
like
till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. Did that hole seem
¿Me estás cortando el agujero? ¿Me estás cortando el agujero? ¿Te estás atreviendo a cortar mi agujero?
Didn't think it was that naughty.
¡Cállate!
Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the
¡Calla!
and come join me.
¡Súbeme!
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts becoming I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in mind. What's going on here?
¡Abre!
Stanley,
Déjame
I have
subir.
no explanation for
¡Déjame
this
subir! ¡Estoy perdiendo el puto juicio!
Let's try
¡Estoy
some.
perdiendo el puto juicio ya!
Back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets much. Oh, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point.
No me dejas divertirme.
It's more of a concavity, or even a very aggressive divot.
No me dejas divertirme. Tu problema es que no quieres que yo sea feliz.
How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working?
No working.
You sure?
You sure?
Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again.
¡Ese chat! Está roto el botón chat,
Still
suscríbanse.
nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else.
Dale.
Take care, Stanley.
Tengo
I hope
musicote.
you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together. Stanley? Stanley! Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there,
¿Qué pasó?
drifting away into dreamland.
Pero me
But
lo
you
estaba
can't have
pasando
that,
de puta
Stanley,
madre.
Because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole?
Que te calles.
From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
Vamos, que vuelvan las drogas. ¡Quiero drogas! Como me lleves al principio. Como me lleves al principio, perro. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Por qué estoy aquí? Me cago en la
Here we
puta.
are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
¿Dónde está mi agujero? No me pagan lo suficiente para seguir viviendo. ¡Qué perro eres! ¡Qué perro eres! ¿Sabes qué? Sin agujeros no tiene sentido vivir. Me traicionaste. Traicionaste todo lo que juraste no traicionar.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
La verdad, flojardo. Si lo comparo con el agujero, flojardo.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Madre del amor hermoso. Estoy hasta la polla de ti.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to?
Ya he visto
Ready
todo.
to move on now?
Sí.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
A ver.
Okay. Are you ready?
Vale.
Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind.
Déjame bajar.
Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Bueno.
Who am I kidding, Stanley?
Dios, me quiero meter en ese
This
agujero.
isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game.
No se
I wanted
puede.
fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look. This is the story of a man named Stan.
Esto se guarda o algo. He llegado a mi puto límite. ¿Se cerrará de verdad? Se ha cerrado de verdad. ¿Y si lo vuelvo a abrir? Juego cortito. No, pero yo soy... de nada. Vale. Sí, estoy en Stanley Parable 2, chat. Uf. A ver, tiene su gracia. Tiene partes muy graciosas y tiene su mucha gracia al principio. Pero me he hipersaturado de la hostia, tío. Uf. Quiero agradecer a ese chat que siempre se mantuvo a mi lado y... A mí me gustó, a ver, está gracioso, pero ya no quería jugar más. Le queda mucho al juego. No es para jugarlo 4 horas seguidas, no, no lo es. ¿Repites otro día? La verdad es que solo me apetecía probarlo. No creo que haya mucho más que sacarle al juego. Más finales, ¿no? Pero Debiste darle un try más para saber la experiencia de Stanley Parable 2. Puta madre. Quizá debía hacer eso.